Morning, everyone. I'm running a bit late this morning. My camera wouldn't work again, and I couldn't remember what I did last time to get it working. So I managed to get it working before I had to get help. So that was good. So I've scrambled through it again and got it working again. I don't know how I've done it, but I'm back on board. So I'm here to do what's cracking reading. Firstly, as I always do, thank you for your love and support. It has been most welcomed, especially over the last few months where life has been a little bit more challenging. So thank you for your kind words. I don't think I'll ramble on too much today. If you need a reading with me, just email me at theaussiegoddess@gmail.com. And I think I'll just leave it at that. We're going to use the Tarot of the Golden Wheel for your reading, which is like that. And we're starting off with the Eight of Cups. So the Eight of Cups is a card that talks about moving away from something. It generally means we're not emotionally satisfied where we are. We've got 8 cups. There are 2 cups missing. So it could be that we're in search of love, but it could also be that we're searching for that 1 cup, because that would bring us back to the 9. And of course, that is the wish granted. But whatever it is, you're turning your back on something. Now, to me, this card never really talks about walking away completely. In this card, we see a bit of an eclipse. So it sort of gives this impression that it's only a temporary walking away. We do have a victory card. So something you've been trying to achieve, something you've been trying to sort of get a handle on, has obviously got to a point now where you're trying to move away from it, and there's a victory in front of you. Now, it could be, for example, that you have had a relationship breakup and you're trying to move forward and you finally made the decision to leave something behind. It could mean that you've given up on something more tangible, like looking for a job, trying to get something off the ground. But victory is still here. The thing is, you've got the Tower behind the victory. So in an effort to reach where you want to go, you have to change some way of thinking or doing things. It's like you've built something on a very faulty foundation. So, for example, if it was a relationship we were talking about, then whatever you built here wasn't built well to start with, and that's why you're walking away. The victory is here, but in order to start again, you've got to do things in a very different way. Now, I do have the Knight of Swords coming through with the Ace of Swords. Okay. So have you been true to yourself? Have you been true to what you've wanted? Are you acting in your own best interest? Have you seen something that you didn't want to see, and now you're trying to understand how to correct that? In my opinion here, I would say to you that there is something that has really got to you, but maybe somehow or another you're seeing what you could have done differently now, whereas before you didn't see that option. Because when the Ace of Swords comes around, it means that we're standing in our truth. We are doing what we need to do because it's what we want to do. So, if it were that you broke off a relationship because of the pressure from other people, or is it, you did something like move house because everybody was saying they wanted you to move closer to them or further away, whatever. There is a feeling here that whatever you've done or taken on, you might have done it because you felt that was what was required of you, or you thought that's what, people expected, or even that you were being compliant with everything around you. And I feel like you've come down to earth with a big thud here and realized that perhaps you need to do something purely because you want to, and not to listen to other people. I was talking to somebody about this the other day, because sometimes when we have issues or problems with, say, personal relationships, everybody gets on board with you, and they try to protect you, and they try to look after you, and they're, definitely will say to you things, oh, you shouldn't have been with that person, they were this or that or whatever. And then you start to realize that all of a sudden you've walked away from something purely because everybody else has been telling you how you should see something. Now, I'm not saying that people are wrong. because very often they're right. But your decision needs to be your own. Otherwise, you have regrets, you get remorseful, and you start to do things purely because it's what is expected of you rather than what your heart wants. Now, as I said, it could be that you persevere with it and it wouldn't work out anyway, but then you walk away because the choice has been made by you. That's an entirely different situation because you've made the choice. All right, so we have the Queen of Pentacles coming through with the Four of Cups, the Five of Cups, and the Seven of Cups. So it certainly makes me feel with all the cups here that you're walking, because we have the Eight of Cups, like you're walking away from something that really you're not quite sure you want to walk away from, and it's still pulling you back. So again, if you have these decisions that are beyond you, or somebody else has made the decision, and maybe somebody has chosen to walk away from you, which means it isn't your decision, but maybe you're trying to see it in a way that isn't really helpful to you. You know, I often have people say to me, I didn't have closure. And I feel like sometimes we need to have a look at that situation. What closure are we looking for? Because if somebody doesn't want to be with us, would that work better with your closure rather than saying, I don't want to be with you? So if somebody's walked away from something and decided they don't want to be there, but you still feel that you haven't had the closure, then I feel that's something you're going to have to find within yourself. Like, for example, do you really want to be with somebody who doesn't feel the same way about you, or hasn't got the same ideas of a relationship, or doesn't see a future with you? How can you persevere with that? And there's a strong feeling here that perhaps you've built something, or you've seen something a certain way and it hasn't turned out, and now it's almost like you've got to walk away, but it isn't really your choice. You still want to put energy into it. So I do see this when relationships break down and somebody has decided, one person, usually not you, has decided, the other person's decided they don't want to have the relationship anymore. And because we're so desperate and so hurt and everything, we try to put it right, we try to fix it. But the thing is, often you can come back together and you've put in every bit of effort and you still keep putting in effort. But if the other person's not happy, it's just not going to work. So I feel like that's what we're looking at here. I do have the Ace of Wands, so there is a new beginning, Five of Wands and the Justice card. There's a huge lesson here to learn around having sort of respect and self-respect. I feel like somehow or another, on the one hand, it might be that you have regrets that this particular thing has finished, but there is a lot of energy here that tells me that perhaps you've thought about this along the way, but you haven't really. I'm trying to feel it's like attachment disorder. You know, all the time we're making the decision, we seem to feel okay with that. But if the other person makes the decision, like you're going out with somebody and nothing seems to be happening, you're not feeling a connection. So you decide several times, I'm going to give this away. But then you go back and you think, well, I'll just give it another go, another go, another go. And then they pull the plug. And all of a sudden you're like, what is wrong with you? Why are you doing that? Like, I don't understand why you don't want to see me anymore, but I might have thought about it 20 times. So it's sort of like that energy, and it's, to me, that's attachment. So if we just keep questioning a relationship, why it isn't measuring up, why isn't it the way we want it, those sort of things. But the moment the other person pulls the plug, we seem to want to go after that, then we have an attachment issue or disorder. It's that push and pull energy that's coming through very strongly here. And I feel like with this Justice card, there is something we need to take away from this, something we need to learn about ourselves that will help us move forward. We don't need the closure, because what we are feeling here is something within us that we feel is missing. And I feel like you've contemplated this many times. It may be that you've just found it really difficult to form a connection with somebody. Don't force it. If you're not feeling it, decide to give it away, let it go, and just do your best to move on. That's not always easy, but don't settle for something that is not right for you. because to me this feels like settling. All right, so we have the Temperance card coming through with the Queen of Cups and the Four of Swords. There is a great need to love yourself here. And, you know, sometimes when we talk about loving ourselves, I used to think the same thing, you know, nice spa, bit of a massage, you know, sort of take care of myself on a physical level. But it took me a long time to realize what self-love really meant. And I feel like self-love here is somewhat looking at the situation and deciding whether it is not the worst thing that could happen to you and how you can make the best of that now. It's not about you feeling like you've got to fix it at all costs, because many of us with that deep empathy want to always fix everything, and it's a state of control, and it's not always good. You can't fix another person. So whatever's happened here, let me just go back and have a look. You're walking away from something, and there is a victory here, but I feel like somehow or another the universe is saying to you it's something to do with you making the changes here, being truthful with yourself, being honest with yourself. That is self-love. Knowing what you deserve, knowing, you know, how to go about getting what you deserve, not underselling yourself, not telling people that your standards are too high, or having anybody else telling you your standards are too high. Maybe you've put in a lot of effort here, but it really just hasn't worked out. And when the other person's walked away, you've taken the blame on yourself, even if deep down you know it wasn't all you. There's a real feeling of here of trying to find your own balance. You're trying to find your own sort of, I'm trying to feel the word. It's like feeling your center, like knowing where your center is, because I feel like if you get into that energy, you're going to find the way you need to go very, very quickly. And as I said, it's not always good to get past something if you've, you know, had regrets about leaving it behind. If this is in fact a relationship for you, it may not be something that is easy to leave behind. However, you can work that out for yourself. You know, I've worked with people who have really healthy attitudes to relationships. And when you've got a really healthy attitude, you don't just fall apart for months and years like we've all done. That is not healthy. You have to look at how much you deserve, how little the other person was really invested in you, and really understand how to value yourself enough to understand that that relationship or that situation was going to have a natural ending anyway. And as I said, it may have fleeted past your mind 1,000 times, but the moment it happens, you start to think there's a problem. It's a weird thing, but for many of us, it is very much around attachment disorders. And if you're interested in finding out a little bit more about that, you can go to Brianna McWilliams has some really good stuff on Facebook. You can find her. She does a lot of stuff on that. Oh, look at this. Lost in space and needing direction. All right. As I said, I'm not sure, that's card number 9. I'm not sure what situation this is, but I feel like you're regretting something that you knew was going to end anyway. Perhaps it just wasn't going the right way. Say, for example, you've met someone and your idea of dating is to see them 3 or 4 times a week, and their idea of dating is once a week. So then you start to get a bit frustrated because you want to see them more. And they don't want to see you more because they've told you up front they only want something 1 day a week. And you start to realize this person isn't really invested in you. Nothing's changing. It's not growing. It's stayed the same. So you keep thinking, I shouldn't be staying for this. I'm not getting what I want. I deserve more, but you refuse to walk away. And then one day that person goes, I don't want this anymore. And all of a sudden you're up in arms. What did I do wrong? What is the problem? What is wrong with me? And you start flying after them, trying to fix things. That's the energy. So I have lost in space, and it says feeling lost, needing direction and focus. Sometimes in life we lose our way, perhaps falling prey to addictive behaviours, jealousy, comparison, resistance, or fear. This happens especially when we're up leveling and are genuinely changing for the better. a part of us hidden in the vast expansiveness of space, wants to sabotage our progress. In the that's why you've got temperance there. Our inner world no longer feels safe or inhabitable as we find our thoughts and beliefs have morphed beyond recognition. So maybe somewhere in this, for some of you, this may be an internal mechanism we're talking about, where you've done something the same so many times, and then one day you do it and you go, that's the end of a cycle. I've seen it, I've done it, it's just not serving me, I'm not doing it anymore. You might have thought about giving it away 1,000 times, like even a job, but you refuse to go. You'll make excuses not to go, you'll sabotage yourself. We've all done it. But in this particular circumstance, I feel you are picking up the bits and pieces and finally putting everything together. So it's about to focus and determine your next steps. So I hope this reading resonated with you. Thank you for watching.